Hi there, welcome back to another quick and easy watercolor painting. I'm going to wet the top 2/3 of this page. I'm using a 3/4 inch flat brush, and you'll find that most of the time this is the brush that I prefer. I don't use many other brushes. I think you should really try to, if you want to paint very expressionistically, I think you need to use the biggest possible brush that you have. And so I'm going to lay in some strokes that are not really strokes, I'm tapping the page, okay? So this is all going to be background information. Okay, we're going to make some rocks sort of coming both sides down this way. We'll pick up a little bit more Payne's gray. Just touch it in there. Okay, not too much. We're just trying to get some trees. This is all going to bleed off into the background. Okay, so let's rinse that out. I'm going to pick up a little bit of yellow ochre here. And I'm going to give this a little tap in here. And again, that's all going to bleed off into the background too. And add a little bit of yellow ochre here. Just like that. I'm going to take this brush and put it right into the yellow ochre. Okay, so not into a wash or anything, but just right into the pigment itself. We're going to build up some depth here with some more trees. I'm going to put a little bit of yellow ochre across here and some across here. All right, let's let this continue to bleed off into wherever it's going to bleed off into. I'm going to put a little bit more yellow ochre in here. And this is my #1 watercolor brush, #1 round, and I've sharpened one end of it. I'm going to put a little bit of some scribe marks down here, create a little bit of foliage. And all I'm doing is I'm just pushing the point through those wet areas, and it will pick up some of that pigment and make a deep mark, which will become much darker once that all dries. Okay, so I'm going to take this brush. I'm not going to rinse it out. This had yellow ochre on it before. I'm going to put it into my Payne's gray, and I'm going to put a few lines across the bottom here. We're just going to let that all bleed into there, okay? Now I'm not going to rinse this off. I'm going to give myself a few more trees here, just like that, and let those bleed to wherever it is that those are going to bleed to. Now we're going to do the same thing here. Give ourselves a few pine trees or whatever kind of tree going way off into the distance back there. And again, we're just going to let all that bleed, and it's going to go to wherever it wants to go to. All right. Rinse your brush off and pick up some sienna. This is going to be fairly concentrated sienna. We're just going to drop that in a few places, and a little bit of this in here. All right, take your brush with your point or barbecue skewer or toothpick, whatever it is that you have. All right, now we need all this to dry. Look at what's happening back there in the background. Very cool. All right, we need all this to dry, and then we'll come right back. All right, look at this little lit area here in the middle. And then you have these highlighted areas, these things that look like trees in here that we really didn't have to do too much work for at all, really. I'm going to put some green in here. I'm going to make it sort of a very straight line. And put a little bit more green wash in here, like that. Maybe a little bit of green in some of these other places. And then I'm going to take this brush, I'm not going to rinse it out. I'm going to pick up this yellow ochre, and I'm going to touch the yellow ochre in a few places. And we're just going to let it all bleed together, okay? I'm going to take my salt here, And we're just going to put a little bit of salt across there. And we're going to let this completely dry and see what we end up with. All right, so that dried up pretty nicely. This little area here where the salt is, that where salt was, I brushed it off before I started filming. But and then all these layers underneath here of the gray and the yellow ochre, sienna mixed in with that green. Yeah, so let's put our mat on here and see what we get. The mat really changes it significantly, doesn't it? Now, if you're going to hang around for a minute, I'm going to show you what I would do with this pen, because I would just add a few lines here and there of this foliage, sort of. You know, you could make foliage wherever it is that you think you need to make foliage. Make long foliage, short foliage. You can take your black pen, you know, you can sort of outline, you know, allude to things, you know, make brush or trees, highlight trees, you know, even highlight specific areas that you want people to look at. All right. That's kind of some of the stuff that I would do with pen. Let's put our mat back on here. Yeah, you see that little bit of pen, that little bit of black line really adds a lot of visual interest, sucks your viewer in. I'm going to put my initials on it. Well, I hope you enjoyed this today. I'd love to hear from you. Let me know what you think about it in the comment section. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again real soon.